Hi everyone, I'm Sling from Blue Cala Patterns. Welcome to video 1 for the Foxtail Cross Body Sling. To start, I'd like to go over the features of this bag. It has an adjustable crossbody strap that is attached to the bag with 2 O-ring connectors. There is one curved exterior pocket on the front of the bag. And the main compartment of the bag is accessible through the zipper opening at the top edge. There is another smaller zipper compartment on the back of the bag that is accessible from the front angled side. The bag is quite flat, making it perfect to carry under a jacket if you'd like the contents of your bag to be more secure. If you've purchased a foxtail kit from me, it will contain the following: 1/3 yard of your exterior fabric, 1/2 yard of lining fabric, 2 11-inch zippers that have already been heat sealed with pulls attached for you, and a 9-inch zipper. In terms of hardware, there will be 2 1.5-inch wide O-rings and 1.5-inch rectangle slide. For your strap, there will be 2 yards of seatbelt webbing. And last, it will include 1 yard of fusible woven interfacing and 1/2 yard of fusible fleece. Next, we will need to prepare our pattern pieces. If you've purchased a kit from me, those have already been printed for you. Make sure to read through the entire pattern before starting. If you've purchased a kit from me, the full pattern file will be included as a download. Next, we will need to tape together our pattern pieces. You'll need some Scotch tape and a pair of scissors. For each pattern piece, you'll want to find the pieces with the matching symbols at the dashed line. Along the dashed line of one pattern piece, leave approximately 1 inch of paper so that you can overlap the paper when taping together. When taping together, I like to tape along the front of the pattern piece. And then I will flip it over and add another piece of tape on the back. Now, using the cutting chart that's found on page 4, we're going to go through all of the pieces to make sure that you have everything ready. Now, I'm not going to be using fabric for my crossbody strap, which I mentioned previously. We're going to be using webbing. So I'll show you the pieces you need to cut from your webbing later. So the first thing we're going to do is go through the pieces we cut with the main body pattern piece. That's this one here. And, oops, not that piece, this piece. You'll notice that I've cut away this portion on the pattern piece. So I cut out all of my piece, and then I cut away the zipper pocket opening from the pattern piece, because we're going to, only for the fusible fleece, we're going to trim away this portion before we fuse it. So going through the pieces that we have with that main body pattern piece, you should have one exterior piece, and for that piece you're going to have a matching piece of fusible woven interfacing. So this is my exterior piece. It looks exactly like the pattern piece, so you have to pay attention to where all the angled sides are, where the corners are. So you need it to be right side facing up. So a good trick that I use is whatever side of the pattern piece has the text, that's what you want right side up for your fabric when you're cutting. So one exterior piece, one fusible woven interfacing, one fusible fleece. And like I just mentioned, I cut out this zipper pocket opening piece, and then I trimmed that away from the fusible fleece. Now, make sure that when you're cutting the fusible woven interfacing the fusible fleece, that they are going to fuse to that wrong side properly, which means that the glue side is here and here, facing up. If your glue side is facing down, you've cut it in the wrong direction. Now, one thing also that I would like to mention that I forgot before I continue is that I did include some cutting diagrams showing you how to cut. So this is your lining fabric. That's how you cut your lining fabric. This is how you cut your exterior fabric. And please note that it says that the fabric should be unfolded with the right side facing up. With the lining fabric, it should be folded in half, wrong sides together. That's your folded edge. This is your selvage. And that's how you should be cutting those pieces. If you bought a kit from me, I will be including seatbelt webbing for the strap. So you're not going to have this portion. You're just going to have a piece of fabric this size that you're going to use to cut these pieces, minus the connector straps, because those are going to be webbing as well. And then fusible woven interfacing. So that is unfolded with the glue side up. So this is a little bit trickier to do this fusible woven interfacing. There's a lot of pieces you need to cut. Some of them need to be mirror image, some of them not. So pay close attention to what you see here, and also you'll notice if the pattern piece will be reversed if you need to cut a one piece that is mirror. So these are a set of mirror image pieces, so you'll notice that I flipped the pattern piece when cutting that one. So just some things to keep in mind to be safe. Just make sure that you're following the shape, that your woven interfacing is unfolded, and that your glue side is facing up. So most fusible woven interfacing, when it's the glue side, will either be shiny or it will be bumpy, a little bit of a rough texture, depending on the brand that you're using. And again here, ignore this portion here for the crossbody strap because, if you're using a kit, ignore this portion and the little connector strap piece because you're not going to be doing that. You're going to actually use seatbelt webbing. If you're not using a kit and you're doing your own, then yes, you're going to need to cut all of these pieces as shown in the diagram. And I seem to be missing my fusible fleece page, but that one is pretty straightforward. Just follow the same idea. Okay, continuing with the pieces that I've cut. So you're also going to need to cut two lining fabric pieces, and I cut one set mirror image, so you'll see that they are the opposite, and you should be using how the cutting diagram um, indicates. You should be cutting this with your lining fabric folded, so there's two layers of fabric and they are wrong sides together, and then you cut both pieces at once, and that gives you a set mirror image. Same thing with the fusible woven interfacing. You need a set mirror image, so one of these will go with each of these pieces. Okay, and then the next piece is your upper main body. I'll just put this aside. Okay, so this is your upper main body. I like to keep the zipper that goes with the different pieces. I just like to keep them all together. It's just easier that way. So this is your upper main body, so that's the pattern piece. And again, you're cutting so that the right side matches where the text is, the side with the text on the pattern piece. So one exterior fabric, one fusible woven interfacing, one fusible fleece. Again, we have a zipper pocket opening, so I cut that out from my pattern piece. Here's the paper that I cut away. And then you place that over your fusible fleece, and you cut that away from your fusible fleece. And then you're going to fuse this first, then the fusible fleece. And that any piece that has both fusible woven interfacing and fusible fleece, you do fusible woven interfacing first, then you do your fusible fleece. Set that aside. Then you have your exterior zipper pocket. So that's this pattern piece. And that you're cutting. Set this aside. So one exterior piece, and right side up, and then a fusible woven interfacing. So this is glue side up, and one fusible fleece glue side up, so that we know that they will fuse and match this piece exactly. Then you need to cut one set mirror image of lining pieces and one set mirror image of fusible woven interfacing. That's the zipper I'm going to be using for that. Oh, no, it's not. It's for this one. Okay, so we have two zipper facing pieces. I'm going to take my main body pattern piece and show you. Okay, so one of them is longer than the other. So top zipper facing is 11 inches long. And the side zipper facing is going to be 9 inches. So that one's going to be used here, and that one's going to be used here. And they both have a matching fusible woven interfacing. Next is your side zipper pocket lining pieces. So these are cut to measurements, which is mentioned in the chart. So you're going to have two lining pieces and two fusible woven interfacing pieces. Now the strap. Oh, the last thing I'll mention in fabric is the zipper tab. So you're going to have 4 pieces in exterior fabric. No interfacing on these, otherwise it'll get too bulky in the seams. So just 4 pieces, and you cut them according to the measurements in the cutting chart. Okay, and this is my seatbelt webbing. So what I'm going to do is first just cut my connector strap pieces. So that has to be 8 inches in total. However, we're going to be cutting those in half because we have 2 O-ring connectors. There they are. So 2 O-ring connectors. So I'm just going to cut. I'm going to cut them right away in 4-inch lengths. Since we're going to be doing that a bit later anyways. And then as soon as you cut seatbelt webbing, you want to melt the ends so that it doesn't fray. That's one benefit of using a nylon or polyester product, is that you can just heat seal the cut ends, which is a lot faster. If you're using cotton, you cannot do this because it will burn. You have to use fray check and let it dry, or zigzag stitch, whatever you prefer.
So if you are using your own cotton webbing instead of something that can be heat sealed, you just have to wait a little bit longer. And I'm just going to pass these one in each just because that's where they will be used later on. So set those aside, and then the rest is going to be for the crossbody strap, and I'm just going to straighten this end. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and heat seal that right now, so I don't have to worry about it fraying at all. We'll be attaching the rectangle ring, the adjustable rectangle slide to this a little bit later. So now I'm going to go ahead and fuse all of my interfacing to my matching pieces. And then we're going to be able to start our assembly.